why could we care about these phase batteries of BEC or ABEC fluid couples when processors are redirecting energy and resonance and they're a three-dimensional processor and they're creating a node in space, a rotating particulate of increasing mass, uh, that anchorage point, that reference of cohesion throughout the software layer is an understanding of that surface tension all the way down to the point of rotational and torque intercepts within that strata. And so when it's reversed for energy extraction, then it's kind of like a cheese grater where you can expect all of the different interactions to be reversible, and the different compositions can be woven together like a same cohesive beam force of total energy out. Then those, you get some opportunities for that kind of reference anchor in a certainty of the energy available at that locality. So it's the return on investment of those ticks. The ticks is like a sound that a clock makes, except in this case, it's an emission of energy for a range of time. And that emission of energy for a range of time is almost like the force of feeling the ball strike a foot. And so that tick of interaction, that investment of direction, where that foot took some energy to, when it was stricken by the ball, that has to be brought back up with the next tick. But that redirection energy, that reflection, is that holographic projection of waves of energy that crosses the processor. So if a wave of gravitational energy from some reaction crosses through a processor and it uses a summation of all of those ticks from those nodes, and through its inherent average of accuracy, it presses that energy in resonance towards that centered point. And maybe it's got to do some long distance transforms in order to get that energy to the right velocity when it's reaching that intercept. However, it does it, be it by rotations and oscillations like Kepler switches and the sudden differences between a variable state in a field that switches the inherent track for which is the most guiding principle on that object. Well, that gives the particle of energy the opportunity to get to the range where it can start dissipating the energy into the field of that entire surface easier than, and increasing the speed of that entire surface, than the cost of dissipating away and resisting all of those forces. So it starts to spiral into the cluster, and the care of doing that and maintaining a coherent image of the world around us into that mapped energy system, an ABEC fluid, is maintaining the surface tension and knowing what'll happen with changes over time in addition and subtraction. And that stasis field then becomes a micro universe, so to speak, of mapped coordination with that temporal range of, well, how long has this been, doing that processing for? So how accurate could we expect this map process to be with the quantity of nodes that was redirecting and had that much capacity to find, the wave inherent direction, and to store a ratio of that, a scalar reference, using sciences and physics into that temporal anchor of rotational uh, Cooper pairs, and it's almost like the demon hunter, right? The demon hunter had what, the bola shot or something like that, like two big bowls, two big eyes. It's connected to something in the middle. Well, that something in the middle might be kind of the radio feedback from the bolas getting closer or farther apart. Well, those in effect might be the Cooper pair of viscosity opposites inside this BEC, or if you're including the energy of the coupling, the ABEC fluid system. And so then there's expectations of, okay, well, if the size changes, then we're going to get this kind of feedback inside the processor, which means we can use those kinds of temporal alignments for preparations, for whatever's needed. You know, gravitational wave communication or faster than light communication, quantum reaction sets of expectations sent already in ahead of the signal, you know, like an order of operations, can qualify how that energy feedback to another point source, even if it's a summation of the phase of every single particulate inside of that BEC, to a distant BEC pool where it's triggering one unique node inside that subset to do one pulse of energy. So it becomes a gravitational wave sensor of just BEC characteristics. It's made a little bit easier than talking about all of the different molecular bonds that could complicate a structure. Yet the molecular bonds was really important for the clustering effect and the kickoffs of the ticks of energy in resonance, of suspension and resonance, to that unified anchor point using the your logic of temporal uh, phase truing or organization. How can we make this better? You tell me, please.